The Washington Nationals are sitting high atop the NL East standings, but the Mets are lurking right behind them. They go head-to-head this weekend. The pregame Saturday is at 6 Eastern and Sunday at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Tony, details of the NFL's release today saying Tom Brady sends an average of 80 texts a day. Doesn't that seem like a lot?
Tony Kornheiser, clearly you're not on Tinder.
No, I'm not on Tinder.
You're not.
And truth be told, neither are you.
No, I'm not on Tinder, and I'm not on Twitter or anything like that. 80 doesn't seem like a lot, though. Is it
80?
a lot?
80.
I don't know if 80 is a lot. I really don't. Welcome to PT, because people don't want to talk to people. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. We will get to the first female coach in the NFL in the Tulo trade in a moment. But we begin today with the NFL reaffirming its decision to suspend Tom Brady for 4 games for his alleged part in the Deflategate scandal. Part of the rationale seems to be to punish Brady for deliberately destroying the cell phone that may well have carried text messages between Brady and those Patriots employees who may have deflated the footballs. Wilbon, you have been saying for months the NFL wouldn't give Brady even 1 game. What is your reaction to 4?
You know I'm stunned. You helped deliver the news to me when I walked into the newsroom today. I'm stunned. And I don't think it's over, though. I think that, we feel that Brady is going to file suit. He is going to go after the NFL. Every indication is he believes he shouldn't have any time whatsoever. And so my first response is, let's see what happens through litigation. Now, I know, Tony, when you get to discovery, Mr. Brady need to be careful what he asks for. But there's that, and there's one other thing I'm going to mention quickly. Greg Hardy had a 10-game suspension reduced to 4. And I realize it's a completely different area of crime and punishment in the NFL. One deals with integrity of the game. But when you have that reduced to 4 and you're trying to get it reduced even further, and we know that a judge originally convicted Mr. Hardy for what he did, the violent beating of a woman he called his girlfriend, you get 4 games for that and 4 games for this. I realize separate categories, but the optics, as you would say.
The optics is exactly what I would say. I'm going to go over the Brady thing very briefly. I'm going to say what I say just about all the time, that there is no particular proof that he did the things of which he is accused, and even if he did, to me, it's watering the base paths. It's just not that big a deal. 4 is not a sustainable amount, and 4 particularly with what you're saying about Greg Hardy. The NFL is now, whether or not they were going to stand up and say, but our punishment was 10 and it was reduced to 4, Greg Hardy's sitting out 4 games. And now you're going to take Tom Brady, you're going to sit him down for 4 games, and most people are going to look at that and saying, are you actually equating what he did with a football and what was done to this woman?
Let's update this for a second. Don Yee, Brady's attorney, as we know, has now come out with a statement calling the appeal process a sham and says that Roger Goodell has simply rubber-stamped the original decision.
Well, and apparently he's got every right to do that because he's got the right to review. I will tell you this, though, that the destroying of the cell phone is difficult for me because the first thing I thought of, because I think in terms of Patriot football, is Aaron Hernandez going around deliberately destroying the security tapes, the cameras in his house. That's a bad sign to me.
And now that we know the punishment, let's circle back to the primary players in this drama, Tony, Goodell and Brady. Both have been in the news in unflattering ways for a while now. The commissioner longer than the quarterback. Tony, does today's news make you think differently of either of these two?
It affects my view of Brady a little bit. It really does. Not as a player. He may be the greatest quarterback of all time. He's 4 Super Bowl championships, and he's going to the Hall of Fame on the first ballot. But this attaches itself to him. All of these things that go on, the destroying of the cell phone. I mean, you look at it, being part of the Patriots, being there when there was Spygate, being accused in this Deflategate, the notion that...
You think the accumulation of it...
I do, and the great-looking man that he is and the beautiful wife that he has, you get the sense that the karma turns a little bit. I don't want to affirm that I think worse of him, but I feel that he is damaged by this. I do.
See, I'm surprised that you feel that way, considering that you think the actual offense that he's charged right now is sign stealing. You think it's nothing?
I do.
You know, I want to wait till this plays out in this regard. Suppose Brady wins in court. Suppose he does. Suppose this goes to Judge David Doty, who has a history of ruling favorably for the union and its agents. I'm just saying
that wouldn't change.
Well,
when you
if
ask
he gets
me,
no time.
When you ask me, do I think a little bit different? I do. In terms of Roger Goodell, I pretty much still feel the same way about Roger Goodell, that he has had a lot of trouble lately with the act of disciplining people.
Stronger now?
Well, I'll get to that.
Is that a phony position to
I
say?
thought that he was too easy at first on Jim Irsay. I thought he was too compassionate at first on Ray Rice. I thought he was too hard at first on a whole lot of players out there, most of whom have been black players, which is why we've talked about the racial aspect of Tom Brady being a white star in this league. Now he sticks to his guns, and I find that a little bit admirable, except I also think, what are you doing?
Well,
how is this worth
he must feel he has the backing of, I don't know, 3/4 of the owners, certainly not of Robert Kraft, but enough owners who have said to him privately, Tony, this is what we all expect you to do. Do it. Stand there and do it. Fire back.
This is exactly what I think.
Well, this is the
I
first
think
for
that there
Goodell.
are so many owners out there who are tired of the Patriots beating them and tired of the Patriots maybe getting ahead of the rules a little bit, that they want to come down on them, and I think that Goodell has responded to that. I didn't expect that.
We have to wrap up. Before we get to this, anything else? How many games do you think Brady is going to miss this season? Because I don't believe he's going to miss 4. What do you believe?
I actually now think he's going to miss them all.
Do you really?
Let's spin this thing forward into federal court, where it's already heading. Wilbon and I are many things, but we are not lawyers.
Really?
So we bring one in now to guide us through what comes next. Mr. Roger Cossack. Welcome, Roger. All right, Roger, let's start with this. Bloomberg first reported that the NFL asked in federal court in Manhattan to confirm the suspension. That sounds like a preemptive strike. What is this about?
It's exactly what it is. It is a preemptive strike. One of the concerns of the National Football League is where this appeal is heard. You know, Brady, anywhere there's a football team is a place where jurisdiction could be had. Brady could have filed this in Massachusetts, his appeal, or there's a judge who is allegedly more favorable to the Players Association in Minneapolis. The NFL didn't want to take those chances. So what they did was, and it's perfectly proper, is they went into the court, federal court in Manhattan, and said, we'd like you to confirm this. This is what we've done. We followed the procedures. We followed the rules, and this was our decision, and we'd like an order from you confirming this. What that does is establish jurisdiction in Manhattan and nowhere else. So now Brady has to defend that confirmation order request in Manhattan, and then go ahead and see if he can get his own lawsuit filed in Massachusetts, someplace else, and whether or not there's going to be duplicity. It creates chaos in some ways, but it's a very smart thing for the NFL to do.
All right, part of that chaos, Gary Myers reporting that the Brady camp is going to file an injunction to put the entire suspension on hold.
Right.
Roger, is he likely to be granted that injunction?
Mike, I don't think so. An injunction is basically this, is going in and asking a judge to say, stop the previous order that's been ordered, in this case, the 4-game suspension. So you go into federal court and say, Judge, stop that. We got to talk this over. And if you allow the suspension to go on, the 4 games, it'll be irreparable injury, irreparable harm. We can't have that. But to get that injunction, the first thing you have to convince a judge is that there is a very good chance you're going to win your case. Right? Makes sense. I mean, the judge isn't going to stop a previous order to review things unless she thinks there's a good chance you're going to win. I think Brady has a tough battle with that. I think the problem he's going to have in trying to get an injunction is to be able to convince a judge that there's a very good chance he wins this lawsuit.
Are you surprised that the NFL took this hard line of stance against its most accomplished player?
I frankly thought this was going to end up in a split the baby situation where it was going to be reduced to 2 games and everybody would go home a little grumpy, but it would be over. What this tells me is that the NFL is very, very secure in its thoughts that they can win whatever else Brady has to do. Whatever appeal he's going to try, whatever else his lawyers, he has very, very good lawyers, so does the NFL. They've thought this through. The idea that they didn't back up 1 second, release this whole statement talking about the destruction of the cell phone. This is the NFL who has thought about this. And I would say most, if not all, of the owners are on board. Goodell represents the owners. This is a very strong stance. They're just saying, no, we can win, and we're not backing up.
Let me get to the federal court notion of this, because this has been hanging out there as if it's a tremendous threat by Brady, and the NFL will cower. If Brady is part of the NFLPA,
right,
and the NFLPA bargained with the NFL and agreed that the commissioner has the right to discipline and the right to review, how do you then go to another court and say, I've been treated badly, when you've in effect signed over your rights?
Well, what you basically say is, look, the process, I may have agreed to the process as a member of the National Football League Players Association, but I never agreed to any process which would allow a totally unreasonable situation to occur. That is, that what Goodell has done is so unreasonable and so outside the boundaries of reason that the court must review this. Not the process, but the decision. That it's so unfair. As I'm saying it, I'm telling you guys that that's what his argument is. Do I think he's going to be successful with it? No.
Well, if you were hired by Tom Brady, because you're a lawyer,
I certainly am.
what would you say to him? How would you advise him?
Well, I would say, Tom, this is where we're going to go with this. Let me tell you what your chances are. We can fight, but
it doesn't sound like you think he's got a great chance.
I don't think he's got a great chance. Now, maybe if Tom Brady was sitting on where you are and was signing the check, I think he had a better chance.
We like that candor, Roger.
But I, and talking to you, I think he's got a tough way to go, and it's just for the reason that you brought up. He's a member of the Players Association. One of the questions that should be asked is, why would any Players Association agree to give a commissioner this kind of power? When you negotiate, you give and you take. Why would you do this? And if you think about it, there's a good reason. We all know that the players play in the National Football League, the average length is 3.5 years, right? That's for most of those guys. So their window to earn money is 3.5, 4 years. 95% of the players are never going to have a problem with Roger Goodell. So at the end of the day, when they're negotiating, they tell their players, they tell their representatives, fellas, go get the most money you can. And when it comes time to, these kind of discipline problems, we don't care because, frankly, we're never going to be involved with them.
Thank you so much for joining
us,
Roger.
Appreciate it.
Let's take a break, but coming up, we will get into the other big sports stories of the day, including the Cardinals hiring the first female coach in NFL history.
And the Rockies owe it to Troy Tulowitzki to get his blessing before they trade him.
I really like this notion that maybe he's not going to win. We think of Brady as winning everything all the time.
Not this time.
Yeah.
Although
Geico presents Strange Saving Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
We've got headlines beyond the Tom Brady suspension, so let's get to those now. Head coach Bruce Arians and the Arizona Cardinals made some history yesterday by hiring Jen Welter to be an assistant coaching intern during training camp to work with the Cardinals' inside linebackers. This sounds like a breakthrough. Wilbon, is it?
Tony, breakthrough, I think yes. And I think Arians ought to be applauded for progressive thinking. And he seems like that kind of guy. And those sorts of things seem to be contagious in any workplace or league. So breakthrough, yes. Do I find it as significant as Becky Hammond being hired by the Spurs and then coaching Summer League and being on deck? I think most people would say in basketball circles for a job at some point. I don't find it equal to that. But breakthrough, yes.
What I find interesting about this is that Jen Welter played football. She played in a men's league. Yeah. We've seen tape of her carrying the ball and getting rocked.
So this will not be, no one on a field of play should question her toughness.
She's tough.
Nobody.
She's tough. Yeah. She's got a PhD in psychology. I know lots of athletes go to sports psychologists. We know a golfer, Phil Mickelson, who has a woman sports psychologist, okay? So to me, whether you're a man or a woman, if you're a psychologist and you've actually played the game, you can teach and you can coach, and somebody's going to want to listen to you because of what you bring.
And maybe seek you out. This is what Arians talked about. He talked about this before, Tony, and I don't know what the context of it was then, but he talked about teaching and how teaching is the most important part of coaching. And that seems to be part of Arians' philosophy before this particular episode comes up. So with that in mind, this would seem a natural segue for Arians, who looks at her resume and says, wow,
you want somebody like this on staff. You want this. Yeah, and the timing of it is very good. If it doesn't work out, it was just in training camp. If it works out, you move into the regular season.
Sure. Good story. Seems there's no shortage of football news, and that includes the upcoming Hall of Fame induction ceremony, which will include the late Junior Seau, but apparently not a speech from a family member. His daughter Sydney, according to a family attorney, was told originally she would be allowed to speak at the induction ceremony, but officials in Canton say they'll stay with their 5-year-old policy of having a video tribute to a deceased inductee, but no speech. The policy was adopted to better manage the time of the ceremony. Tone, is the Hall doing the right thing here?
This is a tough call because they put this thing in place a few years ago. Anybody who's watched the Canton ceremonies, it goes on for 5 to 6 hours.
Times
they go on and they go on and they go on. So in the case of if somebody is not alive and you just go to a videotape, that makes all the sense in the world to me. But in this particular case, it looks like the Hall of Fame is trying to quiet the family, trying to remove all possible mention that Junior Seau committed suicide and was later diagnosed to have this particular brain disease. So in this case, I would keep it on tape, but I'd make sure the family was involved in there.
Well, you can include that as part of the video presentation. And there, you keep to your rule. But Tony, I want to go back to something here. I've been to a fairly recent Hall of Fame induction ceremony. They're wonderfully emotional. You understand why people want to get up there and tell their life story. The speeches are too long, all of them. So shorten the speeches and tell people, I will turn the mic off.
But that's what the rules say.
Okay, but they don't. The speeches don't need to be an hour 15, and that way you could include the Seau family, who I want to hear from.
I don't think that it would be a terrible thing if the Seau family went up there and actually mentioned this brain disease and actually mentioned what appears to be, in some people's minds, a plague in the NFL. Because everybody knows this is what happened with Junior Seau. So if you look like you're attempting to silence that, it's not good. Troy Tulowitzki, career shortstop for the Colorado Rockies, 10 years now, was traded last night to the Toronto Blue Jays during a game he was later pulled out of. According to Yahoo, Tulowitzki is upset because he thought he had an agreement with the Colorado owner to run any trade by him. He didn't have a no trade, but he had a handshake. Wilbon, are you okay with the Rockies breaking their promise to Tulo?
No, just tell him. And I understand the particulars of trades. They come right down to the second, and you're on the phone with a team, and you say, deal, deal. And now you got a guy in Chicago, Wrigley Field, playing a game. How do you get to him and tell him? Get to him. Call him. You got his cell number. I mean, there are ways to do this. You can tell the team you're trading with Toronto, if anybody breaks news of this before I can get to Troy Tulowitzki, the trade's off. So shut up until we tell them. No, keep your word here. It's too easy to do.
I haven't disagreed with you all show, so this is a good time for me to do it. I would tell Troy Tulowitzki to put his big boy pants on. I've heard from so many athletes over the last X amount of years, when they hold out, they go, it's just a business. Everybody understands a business.
Maybe he didn't do that.
Well, you know what? This is a business. You make this trade because the trade is available at that moment.
He didn't say don't make the trade.
He ought to feel good about going to Toronto because they're a contender, and the Colorado Rockies.
He didn't say don't make the trade. I didn't say don't make the trade. If you shook hands, tell him.
If you can't get to him because you got to pull the trigger on the trade, then that's what you do. He's going to a better circumstance.
That's not the point. So in other words, it's okay for the owner and GM to pull out, but DeAndre Jordan, he can't go back because he can go back on his word. What happens?
You know what? He can go back on his word, and he went back on his word.
And you ripped him.
And I would again.
But you ripped the GM.
I would again.
How about some consistency out of you?
Break. Still, I'm ripping Tulowitzki. Still to come. Gilbert Arenas, your boy, gets banned after being too successful at a carnival game. Watch your shoes.
You think it is? Don't say that. Mexico, they dumped their combative coach. They dumped him.
He just won. He won that Copa or something.
Did some other stuff too.
What did he just win? The something cup.
Gold Cup.
Gold Cup.
Copa.
And now, for Geico's edition of Stuff Found in Your Car, we go inside your side door pocket.
Hello, yes, the crumpled receipt with gum in it. From your anniversary dinner, you sprang for expensive wine, your server was Beth. That dinner was a couple $100. Money you could get back if you switched to Geico and saved hundreds of dollars on your car insurance. I bet you'd save that receipt, frame it even. But really, where did I go wrong? Was it the corkage fee?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com today.
Happy time, people. Happy 38th birthday, Manu Ginobili.
Ginobili!
Tony Parker and Tim Duncan, the core of the San Antonio Spurs for all these years. We'll be back for this coming season, and we'll be joined by LaMarcus Aldridge and David West and suddenly they look like a championship team again.
I think the NBA schedule comes out next week. Tell me you don't want to
Can't
see
wait.
Spurs at Warriors in the
Can't wait.
Spurs
as
Warriors.
Bart Scott would
Can I
say.
interest you in that?
No.
Yeah.
Happy anniversary, Brian Hoyer. On this day last year, on the opening day of Brown's training camp, seemingly everyone in the organization showered Hoyer with praise. GM Ray Farmer called Hoyer a man's man. Pro Bowler Joe Thomas compared him to Tom Brady. And now, Hoyer's with the Texans, and nobody in Cleveland remembers his name.
Can we enter into a pact on this show going into the fall? It's like our New Year's resolution.
What?
Let's not mention the Cleveland Browns or Houston Texans until they merit mentioning.
Happy trails
year
to
in
a
him
carnival
last year.
game for Gilbert Arenas. Arenas put out this photo on Instagram claiming that his great shooting caused him to be banned from the basketball games at the Orange County
Look
Fair.
at that.
The fair said he had simply reached the prize limit for one day. I am surprised he didn't go straight to the shooting gallery
don't say
and
that.
try to win there.
No, don't do that.
What? What?
Let it be with Gilbert Arenas.
You have sensitivities?
Like a
What?
10-year rant
Your
now.
boy?
Let it go.
No errors today. One omission, though. The Royals got Ben Zobrist from the A's. They're loading up, aren't they?
Small market team. Huh?
You like?
I like that. You
understand
don't.
that.
I know you don't.
Let's go to the big finish.
Let's do it.
Miguel Herrera is out as coach of the Mexican national team. Surely you are surprised.
Well, I wasn't until I found out he tried to beat up a reporter covering the team, a TV reporter. What? Seriously? Steelers running back Le'Veon Bell had a suspension after charges of DUI and marijuana possession, reduced from 3 games to 2. You okay with that?
I know there's a lot of reasons why this happens, about original punishments, and you can't have punishments after the fact. But now he has 2 less than Tom Brady. How are the optics of that? Do they work for you? They don't work for me. Mikhail Prokhorov had promised to get married if the Nets didn't win a title in 5 years. But today said Adam Silver took the plunge for him. Your thoughts?
Congratulations to Adam and his new bride. And I trust that Adam will keep promises he's made, unlike his owner of the Brooklyn Nets, who never seems to keep any.
I thought you
of the
loved him
guarantees.
because of all the women he had on G5s.
Well,
But you loved him.
Different things.
Well,
Bengals offensive coordinator says of his offense, quote, "This year we're going to open Pandora's box. Last year we just tickled it." What the hell does that mean?
when Pandora's box is open, terrible things happen. I don't think he really knows that. Last one, Shaq said of your boy Scottie Pippen, "I don't let bums disrespect me." Is that too far?
Jack, stop now. Stop. It's time to stop.
We're out of time. I'm trying to do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
Put the Twitter away, Shaquille. Serious. I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads.
The Washington Nationals are sitting high atop the NL East standings, but the Mets are lurking right behind them. They go head-to-head this weekend. The pregame Saturday is at 6 Eastern and Sunday at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio.